Welcome back to today's episode. If you're new here, my name is Milana.
And my name is Rose, and we're the hosts of the Mysteries of History. In our podcast, we get special guests to answer your guys' questions. Today's focus is on technology after the Cold War. To answer your questions, we invited two special guests, Ms. Chung, who is a professor from Truman Higgs University, and Ms. Matthew, who is a professor at Harvard University. The first question is from @TMOH is the best.
What was the space race and what did people think of the scientific discoveries?
Alright, to start, the space race was a 20th century competition between two Cold War adversaries, the Soviet Union and the United States, to achieve superior spaceflight capability.
Yep, the Soviet Union launched the Earth's first artificial satellite, the Sputnik, into orbit around the Earth. It spurred the US to launch a gigantic project to land a manned spacecraft on the moon.
Many governments gave funds to finance scientific research and technological advances to achieve this goal.
That was great. Our next question is from @Milana's biggest fan. Thank you. Who wanted to know how people could start buying all this tech. Thank you, Milana's biggest fan, for asking this question.
So take it away, Ms. Chung and Ms. Matthew.
So to start it off, white-collar jobs and service jobs started to increase. Wages increased along with them too. People found themselves with all this extra money. And where does money go? Capitalism.
Working classes adopted consumption patterns of middle-class payment plans and credit cards. Easy credit made consumer goods like appliances and automobiles affordable.
To make it even easier for people to buy new technology, the installment plan was created. When it was introduced in the 1920s, it let people pay off the product in increments at a time. This way, you don't have to pay all at once and still take home your brand new TV.
Workers could now start buying like the middle class. They now could buy automobiles, washing machines, fridges, vacuum cleaners, etc.
Thus, consumer society was born. Along with it came the boom in pop culture. Movies from Hollywood, rock and roll music, and TV advertising thrived in consumer society.
One technological invention is in 1971. The invention of the microprocessor allowed there to be thousands of transistors in one tiny silicon chip.
Oh wow, that sounds interesting. I learned something new today. It's amazing to see how consumer society was a thing back then and is still today.
So, what type of technology was popular and used in the 1900s?
I'm glad you asked. Let's start off with the email. Before this, the fastest communication was by phone, but your voice can't send pictures of funny cats or AP Euro memes. To send any documents or pictures, postal mail had to be used. With emails, so much more data can be transmitted, from docs to images to Tom Ritchie videos.
Gotta love them Tom Ritchie videos.
Yeah, rock!
The internet is a crucial part of technology that has become popular over time. It is a network of web pages and sites with information from the news to commerce to entertainment. Videos and music were added as more powerful processors were introduced. In 2005, over 100 million people got news from the internet.
And let's not forget the cell phone. Portable cell phones were introduced when components could be reduced in size. Smartphones had advanced mobile operating systems and GPS tracking to help people get to their destination. Apple presented to the world a touchscreen phone in 2007, and by 2015, 60% of the US had a smartphone. With so many people constantly using their phones, social media took the world by storm. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it, your phone's got it. Speaking of having everything, people could make transactions on their phone as well. More capitalism. Over $100 billion in sales were made in the United States in 2015. That's 1/3 of online sales.
Along with smartphones, the iPod and the iPad were made. The iPod is a pocket-sized digital music player which revolutionized the music industry. The iPad was a small tablet-like computer with a touchscreen surface.
Wow, Apple has really taken over. I love my phone and I literally can't go anywhere without it. My screen time is actually like 6 hours, not to flex. What's yours, Rose?
Bro, how do you have 6 hours? Like mine's around 3 hours.
Okay, well that's because your phone is broken and doesn't let you stay on for more than 10 minutes.
Damn, okay, Milana.
Love you, Rose.
Wait, we haven't gone to the computer yet. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Early computers, which required thousands of vacuum tubes to function, were large and took up considerable space.
This is where Grace Hopper comes in. She was a Korean Navy officer and was instrumental in inventing COBOL, a computer language that enabled computers to respond to words as well as numbers. The development of the transistor and then the silicon chip produced a revolutionary new approach to computers.
Wow, that was a lot of interesting information. It's crazy to think about just how much technology evolved over the years.
Interesting indeed. This podcast will now be interrupted by an ad. Adding on to the digital age, this podcast is brought to you by, can I get a drum roll, please? Apple! Thank you so much to Apple for making this episode possible.
As you know, Apple has created so many new products. Their most recent product is the iPhone 88, which we have right here.
With the new Apple 88, you can navigate easily without having any problems. The new phone also comes with a variety of colors, as you can see. Thank you so much for your recent sponsorship of our organization. We were thrilled to work with you for the recent Mystery of History event. As a sponsor, your contribution is vital to continue our important work.
New functions include their amazing sound quality. You can probably hear my heart racing with this new product. I'm definitely not being thrown to do this ad.
What did he say?
Anyways, the new noise cancelling headphones can help you get through your first semester at Truman Higgs University because it takes a little getting used to the British accent.
You can also access the Harvard Student Portal with lightning speed and never be late to class, even though you should always skip class anyway.
Thank you!
Bye!
The podcast will now begin. Now, moving on to the next question asked by @Rose is the Best. How did people's ideals change in the 1960s?
I think the shift to a permissive society is probably the most impactful. A permissive society is one where social norms become increasingly liberal, no more rigid manners and morals. A drug culture was formed and there was a newfound sexual freedom during this time.
Yes, I agree. This was probably the most impactful. Permissive society even challenged traditional family ideas. Divorce rates went up. Premarital and extramarital sex spiked as well. In 1968, 78% of men and 86% of women had extramarital sex in the Netherlands. Sexually explicit content was also normalized. Magazines like Playboy and Maxim, as well as media such as pornography, started to emerge.
Yes, and with more content came more awareness. This occurred most notably in Sweden in the 1960s, where legislation was passed to create sex ed curriculums. Not only was homosexuality decriminalized in 1944, but was actually declassified as an illness in 1979. Not only that, but Sweden was the first country in the world that allowed trans people to change their gender marker on official documents. As Sweden was leaps and bounds ahead, gay rights movements spread to France, Italy, and Britain.
I see. So how does this all tie into the technology of the time?
New technology like the birth control pill, which was widely available by the mid-1960s, gave people more freedom in sexual behavior. Women were less likely to get pregnant after taking this pill.
Abortions also allowed people to terminate pregnancies by removal or expulsion of the embryo or fetus. In 1967, it was legalized in Great Britain with the Abortion Act. The free love movement also spread awareness on this issue.
Fertility treatments were also becoming more popular. Since infertile women were considered a failure by society, many turned to IVF, which stands for in vitro fertilization. IVF became more accessible over time as scientists developed medication that stimulates ovaries to develop multiple eggs. Women who could not get babies naturally could start their own families now.
Oh wow, society really changed a lot.
It sure did. From having a very conservative and orderly society to a more open and new modern society. Alright, so the next question is, this question is actually a question from us, and we would like to know what some of the unintended consequences of all these innovations were.
With the use of nuclear bombs, nuclear power plants, and an increased use of automobiles, there were many dangers.
Yeah, so the air pollution produced by nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide emissions from motor vehicles, power plants, industrial factories, they all cause respiratory illnesses and corrosive effects on buildings and monuments. The chemical fertilizers people started to use in farms ran into streams, rivers, woodlands, and damaged the environments there.
There was also an increase in foul beaches used to dye forests and lakes. Because of all these problems, environmentalism was an important issue in the 20th century.
Wait, so what did people think of these scientific innovations?
There were mixed opinions about these new advancements. Many people supported these strides, but some people felt we were manipulating the environment only for their benefit. An example of this is E.F. Schumacher, who was a British economist. He wrote the book Small is Beautiful. His book fundamentally critiqued the dangers of new science and technology.
Green movements such as the Green Party was also created, but not very successful in making an impact. The government also tried to change the earth by sponsoring projects to protect the environment and clean up pollution.
Wow, that was really interesting. I didn't know any of this.
It was also a lot of information. So, To sum it up for our listeners, how did scientific and technological innovations increase efficiency, improve daily life, and shape human development and interactions?
Many machines like the washing machine and fridge allowed people to live more efficiently than ever before. The space race was a huge part of this as it encouraged the US and USSR to compete and develop the latest tech. The cell phone, internet, etc. allowed people to communicate faster.
Can you also tell us how medical theories and technologies pose social and moral questions and change perspectives?
After World War II, we were dubbed a permissive society, where rigid manners and morals were replaced with liberal viewpoints. There was an increase in sexual freedom that was supported by innovations like IVF, birth control, and more. People became more aware of these topics with organizations and curriculums.
Wow, this is probably the most I've learned in the last 15 years of my life.
Same.
Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new today.
Special thanks to our two amazing guests, Ms. Chong and Ms. Matthew. They carry the entire podcast today. Do you guys have anything you want to tell the viewers?
Come visit us at Truman Higgs University, and we also have a documentary that is out now on Netflix called Heartstopper. Don't worry about the title though. Also, don't forget to watch it and support your favorite historians. We are very desperate. I need to pay my rent. Thank you.
Make sure to visit me sometime at Harvard University. I will give you all full rides, even though that is impossible, but just don't have admissions.
Yep, and we have a very exciting announcement.
We're dropping our merch!
Woo! Let's go. Okay, so you can buy our merch on our website, which is www.tmoh.com/merch.
So buy it right now.
This basically sums up the podcast, so don't forget to follow our Spotify, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, like and subscribe to our YouTube, and make sure to comment your questions, and they'll have a chance to be answered in our next episode. Bye!